Interesting comments on the Senate floor recently following a committee vote to kill a procedural move in regard to a controversial bill. Last Tuesday, Chair of the Senate Agriculture Committee, Clarence Nishihara, tried to get a hearing on legislation that would amend the Right to Farm Act to preempt the county's jurisdiction over agricultural enterprise, including the right to ban genetically engineered crops. The proposal already had a bill, Senate Bill 3058. However, that was referred to 4 different committees, rendering it unlikely to get a hearing. So Nishihara inserted the language of Senate Bill 3058 into a short-form bill, Senate Bill 110, which is essentially an empty piece of legislation just waiting to be used in order to resurrect a bill doomed in committee. The procedure was called a sneak attack by opponents of the biotech industry who packed the conference room on the day of decision-making. A 3-3 vote stopped the new bill from advancing.
That's good. I tell you what, I'll throw you out. You said clapping. Okay, no clapping, no cheering, no whatever, no high fives. Okay, the measure is dead. It loses the vote.
It was a rare rejection of a committee chair's procedural prerogative. The next day on the Senate floor, Senator Nishihara addressed the situation.
By and large, our legislature and our process to the public probably appears opaque at best, but it is the process we work under. When I first got here 10 years ago, there were 2 things I was told. And one was keeping your word and the courtesy of letting the chair know if you decide you can't vote with them. And those 2 I've always stayed with. And sometimes, I think we all do, to more or less, that because it's important for the good working of this body. So, having said that, you know, I harbor no ill will to how it turned out. As I always tell people, we're big boys and girls here. We should be able to understand the process, that we live with it. That's the process.
Nishihara's statement was supported by Hawaii Island Senator Malama Solomon, who also happens to be in support of the Right to Farm Amendment.
I feel that maybe this body should consider a rule change in terms of we are deadlocked. I think that the chairman's position should at least be given some consideration as to how the outcome should prevail. So I'm thinking, Madam President, that we should take this under discussion. I think when you're at a 3-3, or however it may be, you know, either the chairman should be allowed to, of course the chairman is allowed, but the chairman should be instructed to call recess because of the referral system, Madam Chairman, of how we're referring our bills in this body. I mean, we're talking about committees that are 3 or 4 referrals. You know, you have half of your body sitting in one committee hearing. I did make mention of this. We did have a resolution. I don't know what came of it. That you know, and I'm hoping, I did request for a caucus to discuss on the referral of bills. And I think that what had happened yesterday is only indicative as to how we're managing this House. Because it's quite impossible for members to be in attendance on all of these committees when we're experiencing triple and sometimes 4 referrals.
Senator Clayton He also spoke out. He told the body to brace itself because he planned to introduce a few short-form bills of his own this session.
I take no position on the matter that the chair wished to be heard, other than to share with my colleagues that there will be 2 short-form bills which I will ask procedurally to allow a matter to be heard. One is to allow the consideration of this chamber to designate Ni'ihau as its own county. To do so will require a short-form bill that I will ask the appropriate committees to make a determination if that subject shall be heard for consideration procedurally. The second is to repeal the extinguishment of the Konohiki rights for the island of Ni'ihau. That requires another short-form bill that procedurally, for it to be considered by this chamber, would have to go through a vote, like as was taken yesterday, by the Chairman of Agriculture. I would suggest very strongly that if there are members in this chamber that are opposed to the procedures as opposed to the efficacy and merit of the proposal, that they do so at this time.
Maui Senator Kalani English, one of the 3 no votes in last Tuesday's Ag Committee, moved to correct the record.
The short form bills are to be used when there are no available titles to deal with the issue. In this case, there was one that was square on point, and it was already referred. So we were, to my thinking, why not move the bill that was already there? The chairs couldn't agree, I understand, on the hearing, but that is our process. So, you know, to say that we have not followed our process is a little bit misleading. The fact of the matter is, the difference is that there was an existing bill and that one didn't move. We tried to put the same content into a short form, which might have been trying to circumvent our existing process.
Senator He fired back.
The Chairman of Agriculture merely provided an opportunity to hear the merits of the bill, regardless that there may have been another vehicle, regardless that the bill may have been killed, regardless that he might take a House bill and stick it in a House bill as is his prerogative. We've been here long enough to know that. This wasn't about the bill, it was about a procedure. So if this chamber starts on its way of undercutting the chair's authority, so be it. Let us give notice to each other at this time. We give notice, we cut you at the knees procedurally. That's the argument before this chamber, not the merits of the discussion.
Senate President Donna Mercado Kim weighed in on the discussion.
Every member have the right to exercise their right to vote, whether it's procedural or whether it's on the merit of the bill. Senator Sparrow.